everyone. My name's Kimberly. This is Maddie. Bear with me. This is a little bit more unconventional than what this project is supposed to entail because my computer pretty much failed out on me after the interview with Troy, who is the athletic coordinator for the city of Wilson. My computer decided not to save the footage, so instead I have opted to answer the same questions with Troy's responses, except it's only going to be me. So bear with me, and here's what I got from my interview. So first thing that we talked about was a little bit more about Troy. He actually is not from North Carolina. As a matter of fact, he's from a small town outside of Chicago called Aurora, and a friend's from Illinois. And so he actually ended up going to Aurora University, where he started off wanting to be a PE teacher. He knew he wanted to work with kids. He knew he wanted to stick with recreation, but after he started taking a couple Parks and Recreation classes, that's when he actually discovered that that's where his heart was. And after college, just trying to make ends meet, he actually moved down to North Carolina and was just doing some Parks and Recreation, not Parks and Recreation, landscaping jobs. And so from the landscaping, he actually went and got a job with programming with the city of Raleigh Parks and Recreation. And then from there, he went to move on to the city of Wilson, which is where he's at now, where he's an athletic coordinator. More on the topic of education, Troy decided that he was not going to go to graduate school. And when I asked him why, he said that he had a couple of reasons. But the one being that he was very sure in what he wanted to go into. And he had, from what he had understood, he had all of the experience that he needed and all the education that he needed. So he was focused on why delay, why delay your career when you can just go out and do it now. And when I asked him if he regretted that decision, he said no, because to make up for not getting his master's, Troy makes sure that he stays up to date on different certifications, on different credibility standards per se. So, it doesn't really matter that he doesn't have his master's because he has those other things to make up for it. So the main reasons he didn't go to graduate school were that, he didn't want to delay his career, and that he felt like he had all the education necessary in order to have the job. The title of what Troy does is the athletic coordinator, and this one position covers a lot of hats and a lot of responsibilities. It'll go all the way from, finding volunteer coaches for soccer, baseball. It'll be finding all of those as well as, communicating with the people, as well as, different marketing tactics, to creating and implementing registration, and just making sure that everything runs smoothly. But also, this position in itself also does a lot of facility operations. So Troy's office is actually at the baseball facility, where he is also in charge of managing who's going to be there for lights, who's going to be managing the scoreboard. All of that dwindles down to Troy. So this one position covers a lot of stuff because he also does baseball, youth football, youth soccer, what's the other one? Softball, volleyball. He handles all of these sports. So this one position has a lot of responsibilities. So that's all that Troy will take care of. This was one of the most impressive questions that I got to talk with Troy about, was basically how their role kind of fits into the grand scheme of things in the city of Wilson. And something I did not realize was that this Parks and Recreation, most importantly the athletic programs in the Parks and Recreation, brought in an economic impact of about, I believe he said, $3.2 million. And for those of you all who do not know, Wilson is a very small town. It is about halfway between Raleigh and Greenville, North Carolina, but it's this teeny weeny little town, but either way, this one athletic program has been able to bring in such an economic impact that, it's a way to bring the community together. It does actually help the economy because, it's there. Like, it brings in money. It brings in tourism. They said that multiple times with different events and tournaments, they will sell out every hotel in Wilson, and the restaurant industries will increase. So in the grand scheme of things, they are one department within the city of Wilson, but overall, they're greatly increasing the quality of life here. This is always one of my favorite questions to ask professionals, because every time I ask what their favorite part about their job is, their eyes always just light up. And when I asked Troy, he right off the bat knew it was the kids. He started in Aurora University as someone that wanted to be a PE teacher. So he knew early on that he wanted to be involved in kids and involved in youth. So instead, now that he's with the youth programs of Parks and Recreation, he's still being able to work with kids, but it's a place where, they're going because they want to go. And a lot of times he says that these athletic programs are kind of outlets for these children to be able to go somewhere where they can trust their coach and, they can have fun. And, he said his favorite part is being able to go and, see kids come up for practice and come up for games and just smile ear to ear because they are there enjoying what they're doing. And that's what Troy enjoys providing for the kids. When talking about strengths of the Parks and Recreation Department for the city of Wilson, Troy said that one of their biggest strengths actually comes from up above. So they have a ton of support from their higher-ups. And that's so important because a lot of times with Wilson, they will bring crazy ideas to the table because they're always trying to stay on top of trends or what are people wanting to do next. And so a lot of times, if it's not agreed upon right away, their supervisors and their bosses will say, we can't do this right now, but let's do something now that will eventually lead us to where you want to go. And they have a lot of support in being able to implement new programs and just really have someone they can go to and depend on to kind of have their back when they come to them with something new, rather than, we have never done that before, we can't do that. It's the exact opposite, and that's one of the strengths of that department. And as far as weaknesses on the other side, he said that as much as he enjoys what he does, one of the biggest weaknesses is the number of staff. So, he said there's currently 3 full-time athletic coordinators. One of them handles strictly adult programs, and then the other 2 split up youth programs, which is fine. But at the same time, there's always more help. He said that actually at the facilities have full-time staff. Otherwise, they would be swamped. And then also Troy said that they depend a lot on their part-time staff. So overall, he said that their biggest weakness is that he wishes there was an opportunity to have more, not necessarily athletic coordinators, but just more full-time staff in his position, so that, they could have some help, and they're not the only people doing that. So that was really the biggest weakness of the department. So as far as growth in the next 5 years, he actually gave me some insight that they're looking for maybe not the next 5 years, but in the next 10 years or so. Where Troy's office is located is kind of like an athletic complex. So they've got soccer fields, baseball fields, different things like that. They are working on potentially having a community center added. So a large, brand new community center with potentially 3 basketball courts, and, updates to the baseball field and updates to the soccer field, like new turf, oh gosh, I'm blanking right now. But overall, over the next 5 to 10 years, they're hoping to update their current facilities as well as add that community center, which could really, really, really attract more tournaments, more everything. So that's kind of where they're hoping to go in the next 5 to 10 years. Out of the biggest challenges that Troy faces with this role, he really said there were two main things. One, he said communicating. If you think about it, just for soccer alone, there are over 1,000 kids and there are over 100 coaches just for Little League soccer. And if you add an assistant coach in there, that's 200 coaches. And to be able to communicate to all of them is very, very difficult. I believe at one time Troy said that he had upwards of 130 voicemails on his phone in one day. Like, it is a lot of communicating with people. And then also kind of leading into that, he said another big challenge for him in this role is just simply time management. There's constantly 10 things going on. And so him being able to, keep all that up in the air, juggle all of that, it's difficult. And so being able to manage your time is a very, very big challenge for someone in an athletic coordinator role. The character traits needed for this position are very simple, but they're also, if you can't have them, then this job is not for you. Most importantly, problem solving, organization, time management, relentlessly positive. You have to be insanely driven. You have to be able to have fun. A lot of this is going to be fun focused, and it's going to be one of those things where, some parent is going to come up to you and just be completely livid, but their kid is having fun. And, being able to problem solve and, help that parent find the solution that they need, but then also being able to enjoy the sport with the kid, that's what's important. And so being able to be very flexible is also key to this position. As far as marketing and evaluation, currently they do not have a single full-time position for marketing. So they have an intern every summer, but basically, each athletic coordinator will be responsible for the marketing tactics, but they do a lot. I mean, I asked them about sponsorships, and they said that their sponsors are the easiest things about their programs, because everybody wants to sponsor a youth sport. It's a great advertisement for them, and that way the youth sports can actually happen. But they currently are utilizing social media. They're finally getting bigger on Facebook, and actually one of the things that Troy said he was going to implement this year was that he made a Snapchat, and after each of the games he's actually going to do kind of like a post-game interview with the coaches and stuff, so that way parents and the kids themselves, because let's be real, 13-year-olds actually have Snapchat now, as crazy as that is to seem, but they can actually listen to the post-game interviews. And also, as far as marketing tactics, example this morning, Troy and Jonathan were actually on 99.9 out in Wilson doing just like a fun little live segment, trying to promote the Parks and Recreation Department and all that they do. But otherwise, those are really the marketing tactics that they do so far. And then they also have different appearances. So a really big thing in Wilson is the Whirligig Festival. And so they'll go and they'll have a table at the Whirligig Festival with some information about their programs. As far as evaluation of their programs, they actually really don't have any evaluation it's not a thing, really, because they said that they tried to do a lot of surveys, but unfortunately it's going to be skewed, because as I've learned in PRT 380, which is just evaluation and analysis of PRT, a lot of the people that are going to reply to your survey have very, very strong opinions. Whether they're positive or negative, you're not going to get a true idea of what people think about your programs. So they actually currently don't really have a survey in place, but they say that throughout the season they do like to stay basically in front of their people, and they constantly are, just kind of checking in, seeing how things are going, seeing how happy people are. So just kind of having that conversation instead of doing it through a survey is how they really evaluate their athletic programs.